As we enter the main foyer here in the main house at Neverland, this was a room where Michael Jackson would greet his closest friends, and it was a room filled with artwork. These walls had huge paintings on them.
17 years after Michael Jackson's death, Neverland Ranch still does not feel like a normal piece of real estate. It feels like a memory that refuses to disappear. And in a strange twist, it is back in the conversation again. Not because it was put on the market, but because Hollywood came back to film there. In 2024, crews for the Michael biopic used the property as a filming location, dragging the old ranch back into the spotlight and reminding everyone that Neverland is still one of the most talked about estates in pop culture history.
Down the stairs, and here is the master bedroom. You have the kitchen here, which is absolutely huge, just a beautiful kitchen. Dining room, and the other dining table was over here. Check out this. It goes virtually forever. In here, and you can go, and there's a small door that goes this way into somewhere else, which is a very small place. I think maybe, not sure what was in here.
Today, the property is privately owned, renamed Sycamore Valley Ranch, and has been in the hands of billionaire Ron Burkle since 2020, when he bought it for $22 million after years of steep decline. That number alone tells you how far the place has fallen from its peak. Jackson originally bought the ranch in 1988 for about $17 million, then poured roughly $35 million into turning it into his own personal fantasy world, a place built to feel like childhood, spectacle, and escape all at once. The property eventually became famous for its 13000 QFT French country home, its lake, its train station, its movie theater, and its amusement park-style grounds. What started as a ranch in Santa Barbara County became one of the most recognizable private estates in America and one of the most emotionally loaded as well.
Off in another bedroom is this room, which is interesting because look, it's a soundproof door. Listen to the sound. It's fantastic in here. And now we go to Disneyland, or what Michael recreated to look like Disneyland, the famous train station. Now inside the train station, it's quite remarkable. A huge bank of monitors, and also probably pastries and things like that for people waiting to get on the train. A fully functioning train.
That is because Neverland was never just a house to Michael Jackson. It was an idea. Jackson named it after Peter Pan's Neverland, the place where a boy never grows up. And that choice said almost everything about what the estate meant to him. The ranch was his attempt to reclaim a childhood he felt he had lost. That is why the property ended up looking less like a celebrity mansion and more like a self-contained world with a Ferris wheel, petting zoo, rail system, and whimsical gardens designed to make it feel like something between a theme park and a dream. It was not built to impress the neighbors. It was built to create an environment that felt unlike anywhere else on Earth.
Some depicting Michael Jackson in whimsical or magical situations. He also loved all kinds of art. There were statues everywhere. One of the statues that I was told was located right here was of a butler with a tray with cookies on it, so he would welcome people in that way. At the other end of the foyer down here, there was a huge clock, a two-sided marble clock that was so heavy that workers had to come here to Neverland Ranch and actually reinforce the floor here so that that clock would not fall through to the basement below. Now from the foyer, we can take a couple of steps down into the main living room. This was filled with couches and chairs and rugs, and in this corner here there was a grand piano. On the top of the grand piano there were dozens of photographs, framed photographs of Michael and his family members and his friends, and they would just line the entire top of the piano.
And the details were outrageous. The ranch included a 50-seat movie theater, a 4-acre lake with a waterfall, a basketball court, a tennis court, guest houses, a barn, a firehouse, a carousel, and Disneyland-style landscaping around the train station and gardens. In its heyday, it also housed a petting zoo with llamas, chimpanzees, and other animals, plus a life-size train that ran across the grounds. If you only know Neverland from headlines, it is easy to forget just how elaborate it was. This was not a vanity project in the usual sense. It was Michael Jackson trying to build a world that reflected the life he wished he had been able to live.
Across the room over here, this was interesting, next to the fireplace that he loved to use when he was entertaining guests, there was a pedestal here. On top of the pedestal was an Academy Award statue, an Oscar from 1939's Best Picture for Gone with the Wind. About 10 years ago, Michael paid $1.5 million for that Academy Award, and he put it on a rotating pedestal so his guests could admire it. Again, this was the living room, and it leads us into the kitchen, which is a huge kitchen. This is the size of Meredith's kitchen, but this is an eat-in kitchen. He had a round table over there by the window. He would eat eat breakfast and lunch over there. And then this is the main preparation kitchen area. Of course, he had a lot of people working for him, people who cooked for him. They all wear uniforms. And if you look at the floors, they're beautiful in here. These were actually taken from an 18th century French chateau. It was dismantled in France, and then the pieces of it were shipped here to the United States, and craftsmen meticulously put it back together. As a matter of fact, some of those craftsmen occupied many of the rooms, the hotel rooms, in this area for a couple of years.
But the fairy tale did not last forever. Jackson left Neverland in 2005 after his misconduct trial, and he never returned to the property. After the 2003 police raid and the public scrutiny that followed, the ranch became more and more associated with legal pressure, controversy, and isolation.
You guys need a uniform with you?
Nice. How you doing? Sheriff Department. We have a search warrant. You have a manager here? Manager?
Okay, I'm gonna get a uniform for you guys.
Okay. Who else is here? Just you? Okay, why don't you stay here?
Okay.
Okay, I've got, you guys saw the one camera leading over his place?
Right.
By the time Jackson died in 2009, Neverland had already become less of a home and more of a symbol, a place frozen between myth and fallout. The ranch's reputation had been deeply clouded by his personal struggles long before he was gone, which is part of why the estate's story is still so difficult to separate from Jackson himself.
Okay, we do have some computers. Let's let John get in and disconnect. This is not what you're looking for.
Sorry.
Okay, let's let Opie and those guys know that we may be looking for that.
Security at
Oh,
the
no,
house.
that's at
This
at
is
the
house. Okay. Security
At
house.
the house.
Security office is right at the main gate.
Right.
Well, the fireman is saying that they have an office, which is where the security, what's her name?
Violet.
Violet.
In my office, I just put a desk in there
Her,
yesterday.
she's
for
the head
me.
of security.
Where is Violet?
Violet actually was on the phone when I was on the phone with her on the helicopter, so I told her I think something's going on, and so I don't know if she was heading.
Once he left, the property started to unravel. In 2008, Jackson defaulted on a $24.5 million loan tied to the ranch. And after his death, Colony Capital removed many of its key assets, including the petting zoo and rides. The private amusement park that had once defined Neverland began disappearing piece by piece. The magic did not vanish all at once. It was dismantled. That is what makes the ranch's later years so haunting. The place did not just age. It was stripped down, restructured, and slowly turned back into raw real estate after once being one of the most extravagant private playgrounds in the world. Some of the old rides did not stay with the property either. Latest reporting notes that the amusement rides were sold and later showed up at fairs across California, Oregon, and Washington, with some pieces finding permanent homes at places like Coney Island and Beach Bend Park. That detail is almost too perfect because it captures the whole Neverland story in one image. What was once part of Michael Jackson's private fantasy became scattered across the country, broken up and rehomed in pieces. Even the magic of the place ended up on the move.
Let's go back to the beginning. When you started working at Neverland, what was it like?
It was a little bit, it was a very different kind of job. It took me about a year and a half to even get used to it. It was very different.
When you were hired, what was the job description?
When I got hired, I was told I would be a maid.
And that entailed what?
A maid there, you would clean up the house, the main house. We had guest units that we would prepare for the guests. There was a theater. We would get the popcorn ready for that. Ice cream, just like a theater.
Then came the years of shrinking value. The ranch was first listed for $100 million in 2015. Then the price dropped to $67 million, then $31 million before Burkle finally bought it in 2020 for $22 million. That sale is one of the most striking real estate stories tied to Michael Jackson's legacy because it shows just how much the estate had been devalued by time, neglect, and reputation. For a place that was once customized with such obsessive detail, the eventual price tag was almost shocking. It was less a trophy purchase than a land banking move, but it still marked the end of a long and very public collapse. And yet, the property did not simply sit there untouched. By 2022, county officials were confirming that work was being done on the site, including permits for roofing, electrical, and other repairs on existing structures. Reports described a steady stream of activity coming in and out of the 2,700-acre property, with the current owner making good on a promise to restore the estate's remaining buildings. That matters because it means Neverland is no longer just an abandoned shell. It is a private, heavily controlled property that is still being worked on, even if the public will likely never get to see it up close.
Now I'm entering really the private area of this home and stepping into Michael Jackson's private master bedroom suite. I just want to show you on the wall a security code panel so that Michael could push this to enter this area, or anyone else who would have access to this area would push this.
It was a place that tried to preserve innocence, while the world outside kept demanding answers, explanations, and access. And that contradiction is why the ranch still captures people's attention years later. It is not just a real estate story. It is a character study in property form. The property's physical size only adds to that feeling. Recent reporting calls it a 2,700-acre estate anchored by a large Normandy-style main house and surrounded by land that once held as many as 22 structures, including a zoo, amusement rides, and landscaping that literally spelled out the word Neverland. That is the kind of scale that makes the ranch hard to think of as a normal house. Even now, when much of the original whimsy has been removed or altered, the sheer size of the property still makes it feel like an entire world rather than a residence.
He had so much stuff that there was no more room, and he kept bringing in more stuff. I didn't know where to put it.
What sort of stuff?
Stuff like from overseas, just things that he liked to collect for his bedroom.
How big was this bedroom?
His bedroom was very big. It was like the size of a home. It was the two-story. So when you go into his bedroom, it was very huge, and then on one side there was a walk-in closet and a stairwell that would go up to a loft on the top. So there was another bed up there. On the other side there was another walk-in closet, a big jacuzzi. So it was big, a lot of wood. The floors were all wood.
And that world has changed a lot over time. Where there were once rides, there are now fewer traces of the original spectacle. The private fantasy got broken apart and redistributed into pieces of public nostalgia. That is what happened to Neverland in the years after Jackson's death. It was not simply abandoned. It was dismantled, reshaped, sold, and slowly repurposed. What makes the ranch especially interesting in 2026 is that it sits at the intersection of several different stories at once. It is a celebrity home, a memorial of sorts, a legal symbol, a former theme park, a filming location, and a property still being restored by a private owner who clearly sees long-term value in it. That combination is why it keeps showing up in articles, why fans still talk about it, and why new generations keep rediscovering it whenever a film or documentary brings Michael Jackson back into the cultural conversation. It is also why Neverland remains such a haunting part of Jackson's legacy. The place was built to be joyful, childlike, and protective, but it became one of the most scrutinized private properties in modern celebrity history. Jackson used it to create a world that matched his imagination. And then the world turned it into evidence, rumor, legend, and eventually a movie set. That arc, from fantasy to fallout to partial restoration, is what gives Neverland its power. Even now, it is still Michael Jackson's most visible attempt to turn a feeling into a place.
Michael Jackson's most visible attempt to turn a feeling into a place.
I want to show you something that is really somewhat special and interesting. If you look at these cabinets up here and then you open this cabinet here, you see another security panel, code panel here. If you push the right code on that panel, it unlocks. Now keep in mind, there would be clothing hanging here, so this would be covered. Triple locks on this wall here, and it reveals a secret section of this closet. I'm not sure what he kept in there, but clearly he didn't want many people to know that it existed. I'm going to come back out of the cedar closet here for a second, and then we go up the stairs into where Michael Jackson slept. This was the sleeping loft over here. The bed was against this wall. It was a huge bed, and from what I understand from a friend of his who was here with me yesterday, the bedspread in this room was full sequins, just like many of the outfits that he wore.
And that is what makes this place so fascinating. Neverland is not just about Michael Jackson's money, his fame, or even his controversies. It is about the dream he built to escape all three. It is about the fantasy of a childhood he felt he never got to have. It is about the way that fantasy grew so large that it became a landmark. And it is about how even now, years after his death and years after the property stopped operating as the wonderland he imagined, Neverland still manages to feel unfinished, still haunted, still alive, still Michael. So if you are looking at Neverland Ranch today, you are not looking at a simple mansion or a simple estate. You are looking at the remains of a private universe, one that once tried to turn pain into play and loneliness into spectacle. The rides may be gone, the name may have changed, and the land may now belong to someone else. But the story is still there, written into every acre of it. And that is why Neverland will probably keep coming back into the conversation every time his life does. It is still there, still enormous, still loaded with memory, and still capable of pulling attention whenever it reappears in the news. That may be the most Neverland thing about it. Even now, it refuses to stay out of the story in concert. And of course, this was an area that was gone over by investigators investigating that allegation of sexual misconduct that resulted in a trial back in 2005. And it was after that trial that Michael Jackson never returned to Neverland. Lots of fans have carved messages into these rocks. This one says, "Thank you, Michael, for everything." This one says, "Mexico will always love you." I can't read all of them. A lot of them are faded. MJ, thank you for everything. P.S. It's all for love. Happy birthday, Michael. We miss you. So, what do you think about Neverland today? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next.